4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Good evening, everybody, and it is a good evening as well. We've got Clibbo still coming to us from Amsterdam. We've got Reese, but he's not at the laundrette this evening. We had a statement last night from Leicester City. We can confirm that Marti Cifuentes has left his position as Leicester City first team manager with immediate effect. Marti took charge of the team in July 2025 and leaves with the thanks of everyone at Leicester City for his professionalism and dedication during his time with us. I smell BS. Leicester City chairman Top said, "This has been a difficult decision, really, and not one I have taken lightly. I would like to thank Marti for the total commitment he has shown during his time at Leicester City. He gave everything to the role and worked tirelessly to help us achieve our targets. However, I believe this is the right step at this time to improve performances and results and to act in the best interests of Leicester City Football Club. Marti leaves with our thanks and our best wishes for the future. First team coach Andy King will take charge of team preparations on an interim basis while we undertake a process to appoint a permanent manager." Now, that was a statement that was put out by the club, guys. This is the statement that I want to put out.
Goodbye and God riddance.
Now fuck off.
Thank you. I think mine is more concise and to the point, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, let's talk about, look, that's a load of BS, isn't it, what they wrote, Clibbo? I would hope that they have got a short list prepared, because you cannot say that we lost our manager on one game. And if they have been doing their job, and I say that with hope more than any understanding, but if they have been doing their job and they've been looking at these results and realising everything that we've been realising, how crap we are, etc., that they will have started to put a shortlist together already.
Well, you would hope so, Chris, but given this club's history of being very reactive, let's say, that's the politest way I can put it, it wouldn't surprise me if we're on a blank canvas right now, which would disappoint me greatly, because whenever this club is reactive and not proactive, I always seem to, in my head, give them a second chance. They'll learn from this. And I think the pair of you will agree with me that they've continuously let us, the fans, and themselves down on that score.
I mean, Reese, look, he took too long with Brendan Rodgers. He didn't give enough time, I don't believe, to Steve Cooper. I'm not saying that he would have kept us up. I don't think we'd have had such a disastrous season. He then took again too long, way too long with Ruud van Nistelrooy because of the money situation, apparently. Has he got this one spot on? Had he given Marty enough time, but not too long?
No, I think he had plenty of time to implement his philosophy and try and implement his style on the team. Basically, no, I don't think Marty can have too many complaints with his sacking. I think he might be shocked that he's lasted this long. To be fair, because I personally would have gotten rid of him after the Wrexham home game. That's when I thought, no, this guy ain't the man. But I think, he'll probably be surprised, but he'll get a nice paycheck from it, and off you go back to Spain. But no, I think the club have left it a little bit too late, in my opinion, with this one, because you're already 3/4 away through the January transfer window. You could have done it at the start of January, get a new manager in, get some players in that he would want. But obviously, the club are not that clever in that department. Like Uncle Clibbo said, they're very reactive. So, but too long.
But Clibbo, do you think? I mean, he had no pre-season, and we used that as an excuse at the start that he was still getting used to the players. I don't think even if he'd gone at the end of December, which I'd have been quite happy with, because I was saying if you're going to get rid of him before, as Reece said, before the January transfer window. But now I'm looking at it, I don't think we've got any money to spend again.
Well, I don't. Just going back to the pre-season thing, I am sick and tired of hearing that as an excuse. What you had was Kingy making them sharp, fit, and playing a system that, particularly the Fiorentina game, I saw lots of positives, lots of attacking intent, and getting the first balls. If they missed go for the second, and they were at it. Now, I don't think Kingy's system was massively different to the one that Marty wanted to play. When Marty came in towards the sort of second half of the pre-season, he would have been prepped by Kingy. So I don't buy into all that. So he had the back end of the pre-season. Then he had, how many games has he had? He's had 28 games. And he's no more getting his philosophy over than the beginning of his tenure during pre-season. So I don't buy that. A good manager.
What I was meaning though, Clibbo, was that, for example, I was giving him the benefit because of that, but not all the way. After about 10 games, I'm thinking, right
fair.
Now,
fair play. I don't think. I listen. I went to which match was it? I went to. Me and Reece were sat together at the Birmingham game, and we won. But I had, even as far back then, I was having my issues with it, and I remember distinctly looking at Mavadidi, who looked completely dejected. And I could tell that he was being made to play a way that was completely alien to him. Now, something that me and Reece have spoken about is throughout this season and throughout pre-season, how excited we were to see probably the two best wingers as a pair in the division, causing mayhem, crossing balls over, people getting in the box, spreading the goals around the team because of it. And none of that's happened. And even from the Birmingham game, nothing has changed, even though we won that game.
That's the thing, isn't it, Reece, though, that, when we look back at Marti Cifuentes, the games that we've won, I've never felt convinced by.
Well, it was every single game, and I said this to Uncle Clibbo, after every single game we've won by a wonder goal. Every single game, Vatawa scores a screamer, JJ scores a screamer, Bobby scores a screamer. It's every game we won, there was a screamer involved. There was no patterns of Marty's style of football to carve a team open. It never happened for me. I never seen one. There were always screamers and just individual talent. So, again, that's what got him longer in the job, in my opinion, that he got loads of wonder goals. I've never known a manager so lucky that we have scored so many wonder goals in one season. So yeah, completely agree.
I mean, I'll stick with you, Reese, because when I spoke to the QPR fan, because I did the preview for that game, and he said that what Marty does, and he did it at QPR, is it'll be that awful that you think he's on the brink of probably being sacked, and then he'll get a lucky win, and then possibly another one, but definitely maybe a couple of draws. That will save his job, and then we're back to shit again. That has kind of been how it's been this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, the first time I noticed it when he was on the brink, it was after the Middlesbrough game. We drew 1-1 in the last minute, and they were down to 10 men. And I thought, if he loses this Norwich game, we all agreed he's gone. Then he won it, and then it happened with, then he went on a little run, won 3 games. The Derby game. I thought, right, if he loses this, he's gone. But we went on a winning spree. So I've never known a manager to be so lucky in that department where he's hanging by a thread. He's just about to go, and then he just pulls out a win out of his arse somewhere.
Yes, yeah. Clibbo, I mean, Reece said there, individual talent. Have we got a team of individual players, but not a team, if you know what I mean?
I think so currently, but I don't think it's such a massive... I don't think it's such a hard fix. And the reason I say that is because I think the players were rebelling against what Marty was doing. I think that was very, very clear. And I think if whoever comes in, even if it's Kingy for the end of the season, I think his philosophy is closer to the club. I think they'll have more respect for him. And I think he will speak to the players, have a meeting. Clearly, they'll have a meeting. How do you want to play this, lads? And I think that is something that every manager should be doing and taking into consideration. I don't think Marty did. And I think that creates a divide. And when there's not that cohesive unit, it does appear like you've just got individuals playing. But I don't think it's such a difficult fix with the right man in charge.
I'm going to say, again, I'll stick with you, Clibbo. Dworsky says here, players and manager all spoke the same languages. It might help. I don't think that's a problem these days, is it? I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody in our team that doesn't speak English. Not as necessarily as their native tongue. I've heard Vestergaard speak English. There's not many there that actually don't speak English. I know he's not he's from Jamaica, or he plays for the Jamaican team. He speaks English.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to kicking a football, basic philosophy is the same. There will be players who don't speak so good English, but there will also be players in the team with the same language that can translate easier, and that. I don't think that's an issue. I think it's a definite issue if there's no English, if somebody doesn't speak English at all. I think you're not going to get many teams where that is the case. So, no.
Chris,
in fairness, they usually have translators.
Chris, just quickly, who said that quote? Who said that?
Dworsky.
Oh, right, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the manager then. My bad.
No. So somebody in the chat there. And like I say, I also think that they all have, or most of them, if they haven't, that, I mean, let's be honest with you. What was Kante's English like when he first came? He didn't need he maybe had a translator. I know Mahrez helped him, but he spoke very little English when or Clibbo, whoever wants to come in. He spoke very little English when he started.
I don't think it's such an issue. I mean, listen, sorry, Reece. Football is football, isn't it? I mean, let's face it, when a manager's on the pitch and you've got 30,000 Bane fans shouting or celebrating whatever, you can't direct vocally to what they're doing. You do it via signs. Yeah. So if they're in the middle of the game, you don't say to them, "Oh, can you just nip over to the left a little bit?" You don't. You do it via signs. So no, I can imagine that in some cases it might be a little bit of an issue, but no.
The big question is then, Reece, Had he lost the dressing room?
I don't think he ever had the dressing room in the first place, to be honest with you, Chris. I think a lot of those players looked at him and thought, who the fuck's this guy? Just the same as a lot of people, a lot of the big egos did with Steve Cooper. Think, we've gone from Enzo Maresca, Man City, won the treble, to fucking Steve Cooper, who got sacked at Forest. You can piss right off. And now we're getting a QPR reject manager in. Nah, fuck this. And that's my honest opinion. I don't think he had the respect of the players from day one, in my opinion. I think Kingy is a bit of a different story. I think you see how he whipped them into shape, and they look at him and think, right, he's a club legend. He's won everything at this club. So I think there is that respect for somebody like Andy King, but somebody like Marti Cifuentes, who's done his career in Sweden, in other leagues, and fucking bottom league with QPR, I think the players thought, nah, fuck him. I'm not going to get on with this bloke. I'm too good for him.
But that's a problem for the players, Reece, isn't it? I mean, they should do it. This guy is the boss. Like I say, when I first came down to Dorset and I got a job, my boss was a lot younger than me and female. That's not anything to do with it, of course. And as soon as I went on to her department, which was the department I wanted to go on to, she called me in the meeting and said, will we have a problem? And I said, a problem about what? She said, like, you're older than me, you've had more experience than me doing the same job, but, if I come to tell you what, I said, of course I won't. I said, you're my boss, I said, why have I got a problem? What I think might be different, and I might come to you and go, well, I don't agree with that, but I'll do it in a case of, not on the shop floor, so to speak. But they shouldn't have a problem with whoever's in charge, because that person is their boss.
No, I completely agree. I absolutely, completely agree with you. But unfortunately, we've seen it at this club many a times, where certain players have gone above the manager to the board and said, this guy, it's not for me. It happened with Cooper, it happened with Ranieri, and it's happened with other managers. Claude Puel, it's happened with numerous managers. Unfortunately, in football, for some reason, certain players get a big pat. Now, again, I love Jamie Vardy. He's a legend of the club. He's an icon. But he is, again, an employee of the club. He needs to, players need to remember he's an employee. But unfortunately, in football, the stature that these players get put on a pedestal, and it just ends in chaos, and they think they're bigger than the club.
Yeah,
I think I think there was a distinct change in players' attitudes, and you could, in the chat, if you agree with me, or can call me a knobhead, but I think there is a distinct change in players' attitudes when there was a transition from the old manager's position to the first team coach thing. The old manager, there was a distinct kind of barrier between the players and the actual manager himself. Whereas first team coaches now, they're all kind of around them all the time. They're a bit, that respect, you don't see at work. You're not in your boss's office all the time, are you? Unless you've done something wrong. I think that old school mentality has eroded that relationship slightly. I might be wrong, but it's just something that's come up in my head recently.
I've got to say, first of all, sorry, what I was going to say was, I can never pronounce his name, Dead, we'll call him. Bobby De Cova-Reid was Jamaican. I was getting my internationals mixed up there. They wouldn't last seconds in the forces. I'd love to see a charity special where Leicester City players go on the SAS Who Dares. That would be really, really interesting.
I'd pay to watch that.
I would. Look, it's only a title though, Reece. I mean, head coach to me, if you get offered me a job as, it's like what's the difference? And I with the same company, I have done both jobs. I was a manager at one point of the sales team for what we call trades and services, plumbers, electricians, etc. I left, and when I came back, I was made team leader. Now, what was the difference in my role between being a manager and being a team leader? Absolutely fucking nothing. what is the difference between a manager and a head coach? Surely, whichever position you are holding, your job is exactly the same.
Well, the thing is, if you ask Martin O'Neill, sorry, Reese, if you ask Martin O'Neill what his job role was to put his commanders on the field of the training ground and implement his philosophies. If any bollockings needed to be done, then they go to his office. So there was a clear, distinct kind of, not a disconnect. Whereas now the manager is doing the manager's job. He's on the field coaching all the time, and I think, I don't know. Maybe I just like the old school way.
No, I agree with you. When people say, and Nick has just said there, manage means cope, lead means inspire. But a manager, Reese, what you think? Because I'm confused, and everything I'm reading here, and I've just typed into Google what was Cifuentes' title at Leicester City. Everybody that's reporting it says Leicester City sack their manager. That's what Sky are saying. The BBC are saying it. The Sun, I don't know what the Sun are saying. The BBC said boss here, but nobody's saying they've sacked their head coach.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think the difference in nowadays between a manager and a head coach is a head coach was like, the people above would go, we're going to pick the players for you. Yeah. I agree. It should be the same role. But unfortunately, I think nowadays a head coach is you're in charge of the players. You make them play, simple as that. Whereas the manager has a bit more of a say in the transfers. That's what Brendan did. That's what Steve Cooper did. They had manager roles. Whereas I think certain other managers that we've had that are a bit like Claude Puel in a way, was more of a head coach, and the people above him went, no, we're going to pick the players. You're just going to fucking make them perform and stuff. So it's just go on.
No, I was going to say that if anybody takes the job with that not role play, but with that a description of the job, if you like, job description, they must be fucking mad, because their job is on the line either way. And if somebody else is picking the players that they're going to have to play with, how can they, when if they're doing badly and they come to sack them, well, not my players. You brought those players in. They're shit. I didn't want them, but you said, oh, no, we're picking the players. Surely the manager, not necessarily he gets everything he wants, like with Brendan, it should be that the manager will say, I want a new right back in the next transfer window. Here's a couple I'm interested in. Go off and say to the recruitment team, go and check them out for me. And the recruitment team might come back and say, right, we've looked at your two, we've looked at a couple of others as well. One of your two's absolutely awful. Had 2 left feet, was a donkey. This one was okay, but we can't afford him. So these are the 2 that we think are good, but we can't afford. So it's all about, again, being a team, isn't it? And from all of that, the final decision should always go to the manageries.
No, I completely agree. Like, I think certain managers we've had, like Brendan, he had a certain stature and he had a lot of stock to his name. He had that person, he had that respect in football, and he built it up with Liverpool, with Celtic, Swansea as well. So the board must have looked at him and thought, right, we've got a manager here that is very well respected in football, who's been around the block, who knows what he wants, so we'll give him charge of the transfers. And like I said, they may look at a Marti Cifuentes and think, he's not got a great CV, so we'll pick the players for him and stuff like that. But I think that's just how it works. Liam Rosenior, he's gone in at Chelsea. Chelsea have adapted, right, we're going to pick the players, we just need a coach that's going to coach them. It's as simple as that, really. But do I agree with it? No, do a fuck. I think the manager should go, no, if you want me to do the best for the team, I need players that suit my style and the way I want them to play.
I think the problem with that, Chris, is that because there's so much money involved in football now, from when managers were managers, is that to lump such a responsibility onto one man can't be allowed. A committee of people would have to go all eyes to the right, all nose to the left. I think because then it's a collective. I think if you were that manager and you were blamed not only for, like Marti has been blamed for the results, if you're blamed for the signings as well, I mean, where would you ever get another job?
Well,
and it's down to money.
Yeah. And look, in reply, somebody was asking, what did Leicester City say? I mean, it's going across the bottom as well, but I've just copied it and pasted there. We can confirm that Marti Cifuentes has left his position as Leicester City first team manager. The manager, to me, maybe, not puts his ideas, but the manager should know who he needs and where he needs that player. There's no point going and saying, right, I need another goalkeeper when we've already got 4 or 5 at the fucking club. So he would go, look, I'm really short on right backs. Then somebody else is going to come back to him and go, here's 3 or 4. And I say, all right, he's the one I want out of what you've given me. He should have that. When I was I think I was a manager at the time, not a team leader, but I actually had my boss of the whole floor actually dropped a new member of staff onto me. It was a member of staff I didn't want, and I had a meeting with her, and I said, I don't want her. She's a troublemaker. She's good. She's good at selling, and she's done this. Although she's on the inbound team, she does a lot of features, and she can sell. But I said she's also a stirrer. I said nobody gets on with her, and you're kind of dumping her on me just to sort of keep her happy. I'm the manager. I don't want her. So I've made my decision. Now this is my boss, so I got on really well with, one of the best bosses I ever had, and I think she lasted 2.5 months, 2.5 months, and she got moved again. And it gave me no pleasure whatsoever at my next meeting with my boss to go, told you so. You know what I mean? So and the next time, then I had the say on, again, she came to me and goes, right, here's a couple of choices. Who do you want? I went, him. And he was the best guy that I'd ever worked with on my team. So they've got to have that final say. Clibbo, what I want to say, though, is since Nigel Pearson left, we've had 9 managers in 10 years. So whoever we take on now will be the 10th manager. We're Watford in blue, aren't we?
Well, I mean, it depends. You can blame it on lots and lots of things. But, situations arise, unexpected things. But 10 in 10 years, then you have to start looking at the people that are scouting the managers and making the appointments. There's absolutely no way that you can put 10 managers down to bad luck. Now, for me, a lot of the problem is you're giving a manager a job and almost starting him off in an impossible position. And I don't know whether you agree with me this, Reece, but if you are a club like Leicester City that were an established Premier League team playing under Rodgers, we played some fantastic football. Let's agree on that. But it's difficult to sustain that. Now, if you've already come down, but your chairman still wants to play that style of football, that is your first mistake. Because one, it's difficult to get out of the Championship playing like that, because you will get lumps kicked out of you, because players will go, well, if you turn me again, you're getting your legs broke. It's a tough league. 2, you're never going to be able to buy the players to play that system correctly. 3, by the time you get up, if you get up, you're going to have to reinvest millions and millions and millions to replace those players, because they're not going to, generally speaking, not going to be good enough to play that system in the Premier League. So I think the whole philosophy needs starting again. I've said it before. Build a team to get out of the league. Whenever you get into that next league, the Premier League, it's a different ball game. So no matter what happens, whether you've got a good team or not, you've still got to change your whole team pretty much.
Tell you what, you remember that one? We'll all remember Nigel Pearson in League One. The team that got us out of League One wasn't the team that he took he started the Championship with. We had a lot of loan players to help get us out, and then he changed the team round completely. I mean, Reece, as I said, 9 managers. The next manager will be the 10th manager in 10 years. Do managers get enough time? I mean, look at Marty, right? He was here for 28 games. I mean, yes, it was longer than Steve Cooper, but is it really? Did he really get long enough? Could any manager do any? And my answer to this would be yes, but I want to let you see what your answer is. Could any manager have done better in the short time that he had? And forget the preseason and all that, but 28 games, is that long enough for a manager? Alex Ferguson would have been gone if they'd only looked at his first 28 games.
Well, I do believe we could have got someone better in the position that we were in with this squad, because I've always said, and yes, it's got its problems, it's got its mistakes in there, but that no one can ever tell me this is a playoff squad. This is at least 6th in the table, a playoff squad. You've got, again, 2 of the best wingers in the league. You've got exciting players like Monga, Page, and Aluko, and players like that who are exciting and young, that would probably get into most championship teams, may I add. And I don't regret saying that at all. I think they're outstanding players. Again, Ben Nelson, an established championship centre back. You've got other players in there as well. I do believe a manager like Chris Wilder. I think somebody like Chris Wilder would have gotten more out of this squad, because they're proven at the top end of this league. They've got a track record of getting into playoffs. And would he be a long-term fix? No, of course he wouldn't. I would have him here for a season and then, right, we need to move on and go to the Premier League now. You've proven you can't do it in the Premier League, so we need to go and get someone a class above that can do it in the Premier League and obviously spend the right amount of money. So, but no, I do believe, Chris, and I 100% back this, there is a better manager out there that can get more out of this current squad of players. Okay,
let me take that, because that is an excellent point. Look at Scott Parker at Burnley. Some managers are good at getting you out. And like I said, we've mentioned this before, and I'm not one to gloat, but when I suggested that Chris Wilder might be a good fit for Leicester, everybody poo-pooed me. Oh, we don't need that old-fashioned sort of manager. He's not done bad at Sheffield United, has he? But Clibbo, the guy was given a 3-year deal. He was out of work. Why did we give him he could have not... if we'd have said to you, we'll give you a 2-year deal, he would have accepted it. I mean, I get they won't take a 1-year deal because they want some sort of security. I get that. Although the security is these days, if you get sacked, you still get a very nice payoff. Jose Mourinho, £40 million he's made just from payoffs. Why were we offering him a 3-year contract?
Well, this is another discussion that I've spoke to at length with Reece. I personally think with the way Rod Brendan made an absolute fortune out of the sackings. Mourinho, there's a whole host of them that have made themselves multimillionaires from it. Now, that's not their fault, but my suggestion would be to reset this whole thing. Pay your manager well per season, a really good wage, but do a 1-year rolling contract every single year with these managers. Because otherwise, clubs are going to go to the wall. And I tell you what, we're hovering close to we're doing the old Icarus thing here.
Yeah. Advisor, tune in tomorrow at 7:00. That's when we're going to be looking ahead. This one is very much looking back. So you're about 12 hours ahead. So come back tomorrow at 7:00, and Fox's 4 and 1 will be discussing what next for Leicester. Yeah, people have always said why. In fact, I remember Nigel Pearson being interviewed on a podcast saying, why did you take the Watford job? Because he'd got Watford out of the bottom three, and they still sacked him. And he said, didn't say it in so many words, but his inference was, I get paid if I get sacked. So these managers come in, and look at Graham Potter. He was getting paid that much for not working by Chelsea that he didn't take any other job until West Ham came along, and by then he'd completely lost the plot.
Takes the incentives away, them crucial incentives that gives somebody an edge. If you had a 1-year rolling contract and you set objectives at the beginning of the season and they're not met, in your interview, you should be able to convince your bosses, this is what I can do. I've looked at the squad. I definitely think I can make this happen. Right, here's your 1-year rolling contract. Here's a bonus at the end. So it's incentivized like players' wages should be. If you do well, you get rewarded. Here's another year's contract. Because let's face it, if you're managing in the Championship for a year, you're going to be wealthy at the end of it. If you're managing in the Premier League, you're going to be a millionaire by the end of the season. That's how ridiculous it's getting.
Totally. And look, Dave Lister said there, a rolling contract, we would like players leaving on a free. And then Dworski said rolling contracts for players will stop us giving players away for free. I think a manager, even if we'd had Enzo on a rolling, contract, well, we didn't have Enzo on a rolling contract and he still left us. If a bigger team comes in, and let's be honest with you, I know we've won the Premier League and the FA Cup. We're in no way are we a bigger team. When we won the Premier League, I still say this, players would have sooner gone to Manchester United than come to Leicester. So we had to pay them big money to convince them to come to us. And I think the rolling contracts, not for players necessarily, but certainly for managers, would be the way forward. And just to go back, Reece, and you're saying about a manager that could have done better, and we mentioned Chris Wilder. He went back to Sheffield United. He wanted to come to Leicester. He was talking to Chowdhury and to Suter about what it's like at Leicester, because he'd had them on loan. And he wanted to come. He'd done his homework. Now, he went back to a club that had sold a lot of the players that he had got into the playoffs the year before and were top two for a long time, because Sellers wanted to play a different style. What did he do when he came in? He said, I don't like that style, but I'm going to change it. But he wants to see, if players can play in that. So there are managers out there that do have the balls to stand up to say to top, I'm not playing 4-2-3-1. Did we win the Premier League, Reece, playing 4-2-3-1?
No, we won it by playing 4-4-2.
Exactly, which is what Chris Wilder is doing at Sheffield United. So had we taken on Chris Wilder, I don't think we'd be in the position that we are at the moment.
Well, just going back to the formation thing, I don't think people realise that 4-4-2 is the most flexible system in the world of football. The amount of patterns of play, the amount of rotations, the amount of overload you can create with the system. It's simple, but you can do lots of good things with it. So a lot of these owners nowadays look down upon that system now, and I think it's disgusting. I do. I think it's the bread and butter of football, but it's been advanced on. Obviously you've got to advance in football and stuff like that. But there are ways to make things work with 4-4-2. I mean, look how Sheffield United ripped us to pieces playing 4-4-2. The way they pressed us, they boxed us in, and that's just by playing a simple formation 4-4-2. You stick to your positions. This is your role. Bang, they're doing well. But going back to what was your question, Chris, about a manager?
There are managers out there, aren't there, that will actually try different things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think my ideal manager has unfortunately gone to Manchester United, and that's Michael Carrick. Again, played 4-4-2. Just couldn't quite get Middlesbrough over the line. But I think we've got better players than Middlesbrough. I do. I think pound for pound, we've got better players than Middlesbrough. He could do something with this squad. So, yeah, there's Michael Carrick. I think Gary Rowett Someone like Gary Rowett could do an all right job with these players. He's a former Leicester player, and he keeps things simple. This is your job. You stick to it, and that's it.
Indeed. I mean, let's see how he does at Manchester United. He's won two games, and the press are up his arse, obviously. But yeah, Clibbo, I've seen here. I mean, he took a pay cut to come to us, Marti Cifuentes. He paid half of his, well, that was part of his, covering half his sort of his compensation to QPR. I know Top wants this 4-3-2-1. He wants us to play tippy-tappy football. That ain't going to get us out of the league. And the BBC have said this. Is the problem at Leicester not just the manager?
Oh, I think that's been evident for a long time. I mean, if I go back to what I said earlier about, this puts managers on the back foot immediately because they're told to implement this style of football. If you haven't got players that want to play it or can play it, and you're not being backed in the transfer market, you're hiding to nothing. But with that said, I think Marti Cifuentes is well out of his depth at this club, and I would say he's not even championship level. Because to be championship level, if you look at a decent championship manager, you could argue that tactically, in terms of management and experience, that Frank Lampard probably hasn't got the same level of technical training ability as the system that Marty's been through. But what he has got, he's got nous, he's got winning mentality, he's got, he's an old, I think he's a bit of an old school English manager that can get his point across when the chips are down and change things. Marty's very bloody mindedly, and I am noticing a trend where managers are being stubborn and are getting sacked. It's I thought it was inevitable with Enzo at Chelsea. At some point, I've got a mate who's a Chelsea fan, and even when he was doing all right, he was like, man, it's just terrible to watch. Can't be doing with it.
So, I said he'd be sacked by Christmas, which he was, but I just meant the Christmas before.
Exactly, just quickly on what you're saying about these managers and all of that. I've got an example for you. Thomas Frank done a fantastic job with Brentford, played a certain style that fitted the players that he had, a simple transfer structure, goes to Tottenham and says, this is the way I play. No, we don't want that. We want possession-based football. But it's not his style of football. It's high pressing, high intensity, quick turnovers, get the ball forward quickly as fast as you can. But no, Spurs want to play possession based, which is completely out of his depth, and that's why they're sat 14th in the Premier League.
Why do you think that?
Who knows?
Why do you think why do you think teams are? I mean, I've got my theory. Why do you think all teams are trying to do this? Take Pep out of this for a second. Yeah. It's the style that he likes to play and everyone's copying it, but why do you think people are doing this? Because I've got my theory. I'll tell you in a minute.
Well, oh God, I mean, it's like the golden thing of football now. It's all about possession based. It's still to look pretty on the eye. Try and bring more fans in, saying, "Oh yeah, we're trying to play this expansive football. Try and get more fans involved, and think we're trying to play." Expansive stuff, but I don't really know. So what is your theory on it? I don't know.
Again, it's down to money. The football is an entertainment now. It's not a sport. And I've said that to you for a long time. And people's concentration levels are not what they used to be. I saw a study on cartoons. It's just going off topic slightly, but you'll see what I mean. Cartoons. The frames of cartoons many years ago when I was a kid and when you was a kid were a lot slower. Now, if you watch cartoons, they're really very fast frames because that suits the generation, the iPhone generation and all the rest of it. And they need to be stimulated quicker. And I think it's the same in football. Whereas I used to go down to Filbert Street, watch people kick lumps out of each other on a pitch where you could barely see grass. And it was great entertainment. And you'd get a draw, a loss, a fight, but some passion. And it wasn't about who could pass the ball 60,000 times in a game. And that's my theory. I know that's a bit deep, but I think there's something in that,
No.
Also, going back with this formation, what was the formation we played when we won the World Cup?
God, there was only one formation then, wasn't there, really?
Well, there was, in fairness, but we still won the World Cup. You know what I mean? Not let me have my moment. But yeah, Reece. So, I mean, this is very, or reminds me very much of when we brought Paulo Sousa in. A continental manager, and he'll play fancy football. And I know that wasn't King Power, but well, it was around the time, wasn't it?
It was King. Was it King?
Yeah. When will we learn?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's one called Clibbo was just saying. It's what these owners want. It's all money orientated. We have to copy Pep, and everyone's doing it. It's a load of bollocks. Why can't we go for something different and throw teams off? Go completely different, throw teams off, and come up with our own ideas of football, not just copying fucking Pep on YouTube and all this shit. It pisses me off. I was a big advocate for it because I actually enjoyed bits of it under Enzo. I enjoyed it. I did. I liked the patterns of play and stuff like that. But as this season's gone, the more I'm like, no, I don't want to see this. I want to see fucking running, getting in players' faces. You press the shit out of them and you get that ball forward as quickly as you can. And that is Leicester City. And that will always be Leicester City. We need to go back to our old DNA. Foxes never quit. With a little bit of quality involved and get as many goals as we can. That's always been Leicester.
Do you think, though, Clibbo, that like West Ham, there has to be sort of a West Ham way, doesn't there? We have to play the West Ham way. What that is exactly, I don't know. What was he called that went to Everton? I've forgotten his name, the manager.
Moyes,
thank you. Yeah, David Moyes. He won them a European Cup and they wanted him out because he didn't play the West Ham way. How's that working out for them?
Well, I mean, there's a London. I think if you look at the London clubs in general, Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, they're all pretty much like that, aren't they? I mean, like Tottenham won a certain way, and look how many managers they're going through. Well, look at Ange. He won them a European trophy and got sacked.
Well, I go back then to the question that do the managers get enough time these days?
So in some cases, I would say no, and it largely depends on the expectations of your club, doesn't it? I mean, what were our expectations this season? Our expectations were playoffs. If you ask me, playoffs. I said to Reece at the beginning of the season, if we don't get playoffs, it's a failure, even with a points deduction. Now, if you're Manchester United, you need to be winning the Premier League, an FA Cup, or a European trophy. So in this instance, I would say we weren't hasty in sacking him.
But let me ask you then, Clibbo, what from last season, adding a couple of old goalkeepers, one of which had played about 6 games the season before. Yes, there was 2 very good outfield players, both of whom are injured, and that's not exactly his fault. And an attacker that couldn't attack. What gave you any feeling that we were going to get into the playoffs?
Because let's not sugarcoat this. That league, notoriously, other than the odd time, is utter shit. So all it takes is somebody to be able to organise their team well to do well in that league. And I still believe that there is enough quality in that side to be able to tip the balance.
Where? Go on then, name the quality in that side.
Nelson.
Yeah, okay, that's one defender.
So if you just look down the spine of the team, I still believe that Jakob is a good goalkeeper. I think he's had the life drained out of him. That you can listen. He played well in the Premier League and he commanded his box. All the things that he was doing then, he's not doing now. Now, I don't believe he's became a bad player overnight. I think he's not playing well at the moment. And I believe
it's opinions. So go on.
It's trying to take him out and just give the guy look, just reassess. I actually believe that we've now got an engine in the midfield who's been given the freedom, which is Skip. I think he's a very, very good championship player. I also believe that we've got the two best wingers in that league. Give them the freedom. I think we've got a young kid in Monga that's easily good enough to be showing good numbers in this league. And that's more than a majority of the clubs. I'd say more than 90% of the clubs in that division argue against that.
So you've named 1, 2, 3, 6 players. Now,
out of 11, that's pretty good in the championship.
Well, I mean, maybe if you're playing on a 5-a-side tournament. But for me, I always thought there's 11 players in a team. But
no. I said you need to be organised.
Chris, just quickly. Do you not believe a midfield of Skip, Page, Monga in a 10, Mavadidi and Abdul out wide? Do you not think that's not good enough to get in the playoffs?
Now, okay, but I'm talking about at the start of the season. At the start of the season, Clibbo said his aim was for playoffs. Now, what we know now...
Yeah, but I watched all the pre-season games.
Yeah,
I watched all of the youngsters.
And that was under a different person. I had no confidence in this team that was the most awful team we had when we were in the Premier League. And a lot of those players were Premier League signings, you know, Justin and Winks, Faze. They were all team players that we'd signed for the Premier League. And they were absolutely rubbish. There was nothing at the start of the season that convinced me that we should. I did not want to go up. And I still don't want to go up because I think if we go up, it'll be worse than under Ruud van Nistelrooy. There's no way we will go up and stay up. Now, we've got a new manager coming in, I grant you. And of course, since then, we've got Jordan James. Will he want to stay? Who knows? If I was him, I'd say to his agent, I was saying to my agent, get me out of here and get me back to Birmingham. Aaron Ramsey, not Aaron Ramsey. Is it Aaron? Oh, my mind's gone. Aaron is Aaron Ramsey. Yeah. He's going to be going back, and he's a sick note as well. There's nothing there. And I was at the start was saying, let's have a look at these youth players. I think we will do better. But I always said another season down in the championship would do these youth players well before we actually go up. But there was nothing at the start, and I'm talking about the start of the season, that convinced me that this team were good enough to get anywhere near the playoffs.
Right. I have to respond to that. Like, how can I put it? Like, Reece is a great pool player, right? Trust me, this kid is a fire.
Aside from misspent youth, that.
No, I play a lot with. He's a serious player. Now,
you nearly said you play a lot with Reece. Then that's not the thing you want to hear your uncle say.
No, I bust him about a bit. No, the thing is, if he played, I would put him against anyone in the county. If he was to play Gareth Potts, he would get murdered.
Who?
Gareth Potts is one of the best pool players of all time, right?
Okay.
So it's like Ronnie O'Sullivan, Steve Davis of snooker. So if you put Leicester, these players in the Premier League, that's how you're equating it, because the Championship and the Premier League are two different sports almost. So those players actually did win games in the Premier League and score some goals in the Premier League. Not many, but they managed to do it. So they played at that level. Now, you drop down into the Championship, which to me now isn't one division. It's like a whole jump down a flight of stairs. So they absolutely convinced me that they should have been at least good enough for the playoffs. And I think I'm going to stick my neck out and say I think you're going to find that difficult to argue against. 2 against 1 here, mate.
It is. It is, but it's my channel, so I get 3 votes. So it's actually 4 against 2. So if you want to play that card, bring it on, mate. Bring it on. No, I appreciate what you're saying, and football is about opinions, and I respect what you're saying. I'm just saying, Reese, that at the start of the season, or when we got relegated, before any of the pre-seasons or anything like that, Enzo had gone. Rude had, he hadn't gone. He was on gardening leave or whatever they call it. I could not see anything in that team that would want me to come back up with that team. We didn't know who was going or anything. We just see that team that had got relegated. I was shouting like mad. Great, I wanted a transfer embargo, which would have made us have to play the youth. And this division is not the division that we were in 2 seasons ago. That was a lot better then. It is rubbish now. Anybody beats anybody. But I honestly think another season in the Championship would do the youngsters the world of good.
If they played them.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Yes.
But what I will say is I looked at the start of the season and what Kingy was doing and I believe personally that I think we should have integrated the youth more this season. The last we should have been doing it from the start of the season. We should have had the balls. We should have had the balls to go, right, Winks, Andy King. Yes, I maybe. And it wouldn't surprise me because I think Kingy would find a way to get some of these youngsters in the team and go, right, you're fucking good enough. Louis Page, you're good enough. Mongy, you're good enough. You're fucking starting. Simple as that. And I think he would make changes initially. But just going back to what you just said, at the start of the season, with the record these had in the Championship, and this is factual, they absolutely murdered the Championship last time around. Mabadidi, Abdul, Winks, players like that, they murdered it. That's factual. Integrate that with some of the most talented youth that I've seen at this club in many, many years. I think it should be pushing for the playoffs. But unfortunately, we had a manager that was a coward and a bottle job and didn't have the balls to stick these players in. And I think that's what's let our season down. We've not trusted the youth because I think these players are more than capable and more than good enough to be at least starting at least over half the games.
I agree totally there. And sorry, Chris, what I don't understand, and there's a great point you just brought there, Reece, is you have to look at the reason why he's not playing the youth. Now, we've seen enough glimpses of them to see this promise. Now, if you're going to stay in this league another year, blood them. What I never understood was the mentality that, right, I've got to play it safe here, so I'll play the older heads. Now, that's fine if the older heads are keeping you afloat, but they haven't been from day one. So why keep persisting? If you're going to lose, at least lose with youth that are going to.
But we go back here to Steve Cooper when he was given the job, and you had Kieran Maguire at Ipswich. Not Kieran Maguire. McKenna. Honestly, I've been having too many of these today. This is what it's celebrating. I've been celebrating. McKenna, he went down the road of right. I'm buying all the best Championship players, and when we come down, hopefully we will do well, which they are not doing too badly. Where Cooper went, I'm not going to get blamed by buying inexperienced players. I'm going to get experienced players, unfortunately, that we're still left with. I agree. Like I said, I'm not arguing with you on that point. I wanted to see, like I said, I wanted a transfer embargo so that we had to play the youngsters. And I hope Andy King comes in and I hope he does start playing the youngsters because, like I said, I don't want to come to August or whatever it is and be starting next season. And suddenly we're putting these players in that haven't had any experience at all. Just a few, leg warming friendlies. Let's get them in now. Let's get them used to playing. I tell you what, when we played Cheltenham, that was the best game I've seen Leicester play for passing. The players actually were able to pass to each other because they used to play together at the under-21 level. And this is interesting. Look, when I got excited on the preseason, I must be honest with you, and then I had to kind of taper it with, well, who are we playing? When it was the first time we came up against a decent team in Colne, we lost. But the rest of the time we looked good. We did, and suddenly I realised, shit, there's two halves to a football pitch because Ruud van Nistelrooy never let us go above the halfway line. And what I get is like, yes, if Andy King comes in, I hope he plays the youth, but I hope he plays the youth square pegs in square holes. I remember you saying, Reese, Monga is not a winger. Or not
well,
a
he's
left.
He's not a left-sided player. He's never been a left-sided player.
No. So only occasionally has he been picked or replaced Fatawu. But he is more of a central player. Why has he never played in that position? Why has Marty insisting on putting round pegs in square holes? It isn't. I just hope Andy King, who knows these players, can put them together. And why, Clibbo? And I know you're going to agree with me on this one. Why is he still playing a guy that needs to come on with his Zimmer frame up front? I showed, and let me just see if I can get this up. Do you want to see? We'll have a look at Jordan Ayew's heat map from Saturday in a second when I get it up. But why is he persisting on playing him up front when he's going at the end of the season anyway? Why is he bringing Samori on in the 20th minute when he's leaving at the end of the season anyway? What's the fucking point?
Well, I think there's a couple of there's that. One of the comments that always does irritates me beyond belief is when people say, "Oh, he's not big enough, he's not strong enough to be a number 10." Listen, our current number 10s. Well, let's take Jordan Ayew. Let's use him as an example. He played number 10 for quite a few games, right? He spent more time on his arse than any other player. At least if you've got tricks and you get fouled, you get free kicks. But there's a chance you're not going to get fouled. Even on the wings, when Monga was given that bit of free rein, he had 3 players around him sometimes, and I've seen him take them 3 players out like a bowling ball, just straight through. It's not always about how big and robust you are if you've got that kind of skill level. So, no. And then going back to the, bringing the kids through, we are 28 games into the season now with a real possibility of being in a dogfight. And I'm now at the stage where I think what he should have done at the beginning of the season is blood these youngsters and have the older heads as backup, come on a bit later on when they're a bit tired, if the game's getting a bit rough for them. But what he's done now is put potentially the kids in a very, very dubious situation. What actually could damage some of them. Some of them who are not quite as strong mentally. You've got a relegation on your CV. You're at the back end of the season. That's what people will remember, isn't it? And it could have a real detrimental effect. Me personally, I would take that risk because I don't think any of these. I'm sorry, but let's go back to Ayew. It doesn't offer me anything.
There's Ayew's heat map, Clibbo, from Saturday. I don't know how it's showing up on your screen. What do you notice about that heat map?
It looks like bird's eye view from Predator.
Well, that's what the answer I was looking for there. I'm not going to lie. There's a big gap in our number 9 where their penalty box is. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, and I often am. Isn't your number 9 supposed to be your centre forward? Isn't your number 9 supposed to be the one that's scoring goals? Isn't your number 9 the one that's supposed to be in the box causing problems? Why the fuck is his hottest bit on the left wing? And why is he hardly showing any touches at all in the opposition box?
He's never
Perhaps
Well, I
that's
mean,
where he fell. Perhaps that's where he fell over and shot himself,
Yeah.
and that's where the heat is.
this is
if
where
you look at him, he's got more touches and plays in our penalty box than in their penalty box. I mean, and the guy's not going to be able to, if we're going to play, look at that counter-attack that Oxford did against us. You can't imagine if we did that Ayer would be up there. Really, can you? And that,
Probably the highest point he got up the pitch.
if you go and look up Jordan Ayew's football career, he has never been a 15, 20 goal a season man. He's always had 7 goals, 8 goals, 9 goals, sometimes 10. He's never been a natural number 9. I've said this from fucking day one, and these stupid twats at the club gave him the number 9 shirt. He's never been a natural striker. You've got a natural striker who's absolutely banging them in at 17 years old in the under 23s and absolutely ripping it to pieces. And why is he doing that? Because he's in the fucking box. He's got striker instincts. Jordan Ayew has never been a natural striker with striker instincts. Right, I'm in the 5-yard box, ready to pick up the loose balls, but he's never there. He's always fucking coming deep because of this stupid modern way of thinking, and it's ruined strikers in the modern game.
but okay, so obviously Jake Evans you are referring to.
Yes.
Yeah. Not my favourite Jake Edwards. Who actually exists, but he is a director of football, not a player.
Hasn't he signed for Northampton today?
He's in talks from what I'm hearing.
Now, yeah, that pisses me off, right? Because we've obviously got such great strikers that we can afford to let him go. I mean, we've got Ayew, and then look, if Ayew comes off, we've got Daka as a backup. We don't need Jake Evans. No, we don't need him.
Yeah.
The fuck? And this is why I hope that Andy King comes in and says he's not going anywhere. And I hope he gets Baybrook and Alves back and a couple of these others. That is why this guy needed to go. It's these stupid decisions. We're giving him to Northampton Town to get match practice. Well, why the fuck aren't we giving him match practice, Clibbo?
Well, I mean...
Oh, because we've had a dickhead in charge. I know that's the answer.
Well, it just depends, doesn't it? It depends, because he hasn't had many senior games. So to be heavily reliant on him, I think would be... But certainly he should have been in and around the squad, and particularly that Cheltenham game was the one that really pissed me right off.
Yes.
There was absolutely no need for that. But something I am going to make a bold prediction. I think if Kingy, depending on, because the rumours are we're looking for somebody experienced. Depending on that, I think Kingy will get more out of Daka than Cifuentes.
Will he play him as part of a 2 up front though?
I'm not sure about that, but I think what he'll do is he'll
his best position, isn't it? As a number 2.
He's not really ever played that at Leicester, has he? So, but I do think Kingy recognises the delivery that needs to be for Daka, and I actually think Kingy will make the front 3 much more progressive. I think that's something you'll see under Kingy. I might be wrong, and I might have just shot myself in the foot and made myself look like an idiot. But just patterns that I saw under Kingy. I mean, I like that Fiorentina game. When I watched it back, I was there, but when I watched it back on the TV, I noticed how much even Chowdhury was getting forward. And he was part of the nice triangles that were moving forward. And I just think that they would get his philosophies more. And I do think the lack of striker is a problem. So I think Kingy will go, right, this is how we need to make sure that the service gets to that striker. If he then kicks it, if he then scores a conversion, like a try, like in rugby, then that is down to him. But how much have we drained that boy's confidence? I mean, we all sit slagging him off, but you know, those 4 goals he scored, that was special. And you don't just lose that talent; you lose the confidence.
Maybe we signed the wrong striker at the time. Maybe we should have signed his partner.
Just quickly, I keep seeing a lot of comments, and I've seen them on various channels, and I'm seeing them a lot here tonight. Why didn't Kingy tell Marty this, Marty that? A first team coach cannot have an influence on a squad picking. You know, he's just there to coach the players the way the manager wants them to be coached. So all this about, why couldn't King? Why didn't King? He's part of the problem. King is not going to have an influence on picking a team. The manager tells him, right, this is the way I want them coaching. You do your fucking job. That's Andy King's job as first team coach. So we need to stop this. Why didn't Kingy tell this and that? He can't do anything.
No, in fairness to him as well, look, when they sacked Pearson and brought in Claudio Ranieri, we had Craig Shakespeare as like the constant between the two reigns. And, you know, he could go to Claudio and go, don't do that because he can't play there, or you need to be playing him in this style. And Claudio, I do believe, actually listened to him. We don't know that King has not been saying this to Marty. And when you look at some of the matches, he's there talking to him on the touchline by the little iPad or whatever it is. But again, there's nothing to say that Marty has to listen to him. And
no, I think you look at this 2 styles from the beginning, from pre-season to when Marty took over. Distinctly different. So that's what I'm saying is Marty tells me a lot.
Marty doesn't have to listen to Andy if he is telling him.
He clearly hasn't, if you ask me.
Yeah. Of course, the big question is, how do you say he's a cunt without saying he's a cunt?
That's day 1 of marriage 20 years later.
I just said on Saturday, I had to actually explain that to somebody, which kind of killed it a little bit. But the one on the right, if our defence was as tight as that one, we wouldn't have been letting goals in, would we? But this is I better take that down, hadn't I? This is Reece. This is Andy King's chance to shine, if you like, isn't it? Otherwise, he's going to get tarnished with you were at Leicester when Marty was there.
Well, for me, I look at the bigger picture and I wouldn't put that on his name at all. You know, you got to look at the facts and think he's been put in a situation where he shouldn't really be put in because he's never managed a game in his life, a proper football game in his life. But he will get all my support. He'll get my whole back in. He'll do his best. I know he'll make mistakes because he's never managed a game, but he's going to make mistakes. The fans need to realize Kingy is going to make mistakes because he's never managed a football club before. But we need to get behind him. Forget about the football side of things. He's a club legend. He's this and that. He's in charge of our football club for now. And we need to get behind him. He deserves all the support. And if he's doing all the right things and he's trying his best to win us football matches, then that's all I give a fucking shit about.
Yeah. And he's got the opportunity now to prove himself, hasn't he, Clibbo?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, from obviously, we all watched pre-season and we were all excited with what we saw, and we saw the fitness levels up. Now, I think if you've got half decent players that are very fit, this league, that quality really, really pays dividends. And I just think it's ironic now that halfway through a season, we're all accusing the players of not being very fit and that we're doing very shit. There has to be something there. Now, whether that's because they look unfit, because they have just stopped running for this guy, that's something they did in abundance in pre-season, chasing down lost causes, and trying to get to the ball, 50-50s, all that. There was no they weren't pulling out challenges very much in the pre-season games like you would expect. So
Yeah.
that's something I think Kingy instilled into the team. And I'm hoping that they are very fit, but it was just a case of they just didn't get the system that he was trying to play. And just naturally, I'm not saying they just deliberately went, we're not doing this, but naturally, game after game, you get demoralised. Your effort naturally decreases.
I'm going to
Just
go.
quickly.
Yeah, go on, Reece. Yeah.
Just quickly on this like fitness thing, I noticed it under Enzo a lot because you look at the way he plays football, doesn't require a lot of running. You sit in a certain space and you don't fucking move. And you look at what Kingy did, he got them fucking, running intensity and all this blah, blah, blah and all of this. But you look at all these other teams trying to play possession-based football, and I've been watching it very closely. They're not very fit. They're not very like 90-minute fit because they're taught as like they're being taught like robots. You stand here, you don't fucking move, the ball comes to you, sort of thing. And that's what's going. And that's what I think is a problem with these players. They've been taught like robots. Say you stand here, you don't move. Simple as that.
Can I make you guys feel even worse?
Go on then.
What was I doing 9 years ago today? I was buying my Seville ticket for the Champions League home game.
Oh yeah, I was only watching that the other day. I was watching all the Champions League highlights.
How far
You know
have
what?
we fallen in 9 years?
That's fantastic.
Something else as well. Ibrahim Diabate, who we were linked with, who was targeted by Leicester City early this month, looks set to join Sahar FC in the United Arab Emirates. So there's one of the strikers we were looking at gone. Please, Kingy, don't let Jake Evans go. What, Reece? Let me ask you this: who answered the last question? Sorry, I forgot because I was looking at that as well. Yeah, let me come to Reece then. Look, Reece, when you look at a manager that has taken, it looks at this Leicester team, looks at this job, and says, "Yes, Top, I can still play 4-2-3-1. I know that you played it last season, and I know that you lost 17 games, whatever it was, on the trot, but I think I can still make this work." You surely as a boss would look at that and go, this guy's not got it up here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's certain ways to play a certain formation. Everyone plays 4-2-3-1 in a defensive shape. You've got your two holding midfielders, your three attacking midfielders, and your striker. In possession, it's never a 4-2-3-1. There's different ways you can play it. So it depends on the certain way that the manager wants to play it. Now, obviously, Marti did play 4-2-3-1, but obviously it was a way that didn't work. So if another manager
didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. But, other managers do play 4-2-3-1 and it does work. I've seen it with multiple clubs in the chat. Hull play 4-2-3-1. Look, they're flying. QPR play 4-2-3-1. They've got it working. It's how you set them up and how the patterns of play and the rotation sort of thing. So it's just about finding that balance of, all right, you stick to 4-2-3-1 in defensive shape, but how can I make it work going forward? Because it is the go-to formation for everyone nowadays.
But that's where we were so vulnerable, and where we said at the beginning of the season when we were comparing. I mean, when you see it kind of on the computer screen where you've got dots for players, I said with those fullbacks, we are going to get caught out every single sodding time. And it happened last season. If you look at the goals on Ricardo's side in particular, the amount of space that the wing, I mean, they could set up and have a picnic there by the time Ricardo gets back. But Ricardo seems to me doesn't know where he's supposed to be in that position. Now, you have to have quick fullbacks to make that work when you're attacking for a couple of reasons. But one of them is when that ball comes over into that space, that's in those fullback spaces, you are left. You've got to make sure they can get back quickly. And I said it was never going to work. And unfortunately, like most times in life, I was right.
And you know what strikes me about you, Clibbo? It's your modesty. I've always said that about you. Reece, and let me say that when we spoke about this last week, and that's his substitutions. Again, you can look at, well, he might get this wrong. And I know we've got no Skip and we had no James, and that's not his fault. And the guys that he put in, you'd probably think, yeah, I understand why he's gone with that. Nelson, he kept at left back because he had a pretty decent game there, to be honest with you, in the game before. And let's be honest with you, we've all been shouting for Thomas to go. Who else do you put in there? And before you say Luco, I couldn't because I've got a Luco on as my right back. But his substitutions, 90% are like for like. And that Oxford game, I don't know whether he changed formation or not, and I don't think the players knew whether they changed formation or not, because they just seem to be running around like the proverbial headless chickens.
Well, I mean that's where you look at it and think, oh, I haven't got a left back now, so what can I do? Oh, I know. Let's be fucking use me common sense. Let's fucking change the system to a back three and behave like a normal manager, and then could use Silko Thomas as a left wing back because he has got previous in that. I know that for a fact. He's got previous in that role, so he can do that job for me just for these couple of games. Or put a Luco and a Coley and Nelson as a back three. You got pace. You got players that can pass the ball and that will block the ball and stuff like that. But that's the problem with these modern day. Oh no, this is my style. I stand by it. Blah blah blah. And it's what gets most managers sacked. It got Rude the sack. It got and it ultimately got Marti sacked as well because he wouldn't change and he was too much of a coward to change things and admit that he was wrong.
Now earlier, when we were in the chat on WhatsApp, you said, because you weren't originally going to be able to come in, that you said that your Uncle Clibbo could tell you something that you knew.
Oh well, he's already mentioned it on the stream, but we are apparently looking very hard for an experienced quick fix to try and make us push for the playoffs. Now I don't know who that will be. If it was my pick and if he was out of a job, it would be Chris Wilder and say, right, we need you to help us here. It's a short-term fix. Can you help us? So I don't know who this short fix manager is going to be. There's not a lot of managers that I can think of right now, other than the ones that are in jobs right now that can do a job. I wouldn't mind trying to push Stoke for Mark Robbins. I wouldn't mind that at all.
But again, we've got to pay compensation, and have we got the money?
Yeah,
I would have taken Mark Robbins.
Yeah,
I said Mark Robbins at the start of the season.
If it was me, if I was in charge, I would give it Kingy until the end of the season because I trust Kingy. He's worked with these players. He's worked with the youngsters more than we know. He knows them off by heart. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses. Give him a chance. You don't have to give him the job full time. Just see it out. If we get playoffs, we get playoffs. But just ultimately, just stable the club and just bleed these youngsters in for fuck's sake because we need them for next season because we need to convince them, right, you lads are going to be starting week in, week out. This is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. That would be what I would do.
Clibbo, I get totally what Reece is saying. I don't want to get in the playoffs because of reasons I've said earlier. I think if we got it, it'd just be like Leicester to go and win the bloody thing, and then we're up in the Premier League, and we're back to where we were when we went up with Enzo. But that makes total sense to me because you've got Kingy, who knows the players, like we say, he knows the youth, he knows what they can do. He's the ideal candidate to take it short term. Usually, like when we sacked, who did we sack? And we got Ben, somebody who took over. Ben Dawson when he took over from Steve Cooper, or Mike Stowell and Adam Sandler when he took over from Brendan Rodgers. They just went out and did exactly the same players and exactly the same formation, and nothing changed. We lost again. Who knew? But Kingy, I think, would do well. Give it to him, like I say, on a temporary basis until, caretaker basis until the end of the season. We can assess him and he can assess what he's got. It might be that he will win every single game. It might be that he'll lose a few on the way, but I think he's the sort of manager that will learn. Because he's starting out, he'll actually learn more than these people that think they know it all, like Marty. if it's not working out, maybe with 5 or 6 games to go, bring the guy in that you're thinking would be our next manager. But have him overlooking Kingy. Have him spending 5 or 6 games. You know, when Brendan Rodgers came in, he came in before the end of the season because Celtic wanted him to stay until the end of their season. And he said, no, Leicester want me now. And the advantage that gave him was that he was able to see the team players and go, right, I'm seeing you in a proper game here, not in a pre-season runabout. I'm seeing what you like up against proper teams in this league. And I think that was a great start. So if it's not going to be Kingy, let him carry on till the end of the season. Bring the new manager in, like I say, 5 or 6 games to go. And say, right, you just go in and observe and talk to Andy King and just observe him and you'll be able to see. And I think that, to me, is the best solution. I don't know who the guy will be, but I do think that's the best solution.
I would like to see something like that happen. Obviously, it depends if we can afford to pay a manager this season. Mm-hmm. And 2, I think Kingy, although he's inexperienced, and he could fall flat on his face. I hope he doesn't. But I think he's a very intelligent person. I think somebody said in the comments he's a deeper thinker. I think you're right. I think he sees things a little bit quicker than Marty does, and is more proactive than reactive. But if it doesn't go well for him, I wouldn't like to see him oofed out of the club. I still think the guy's got a role to play, and I would like to think, given his services to this club, what he's done at this club, we would allow him to develop further, because I don't think having the situation he's in right now, there in some ways there's no pressure on him, but in a lot of ways there is, because where do you go from here if you get the team relegated?
I totally agree with that. Even if a new manager comes in, you keep him. Maybe as the new manager's assistant manager. You know, I mean, look at Claudio and Shaky. Rest in peace, mate. You know, Claudio brought his own assistant manager in, but he was still told to keep Craig as another assistant manager. Look, people are coming up with Fuchs. What has Fuchs done in this? He's got a team, Newport. Yeah, okay, he's won 2 of the last 5. Newport fans, and I've got a friend who's a Newport fan, they hate him. Absolutely hate him. They wanted him out. They didn't want him in the first place, and they don't want him. Now, what I will say is, possibly as a number 2, or certainly as a coach, let's say, what about, and we'll talk more obviously on who it might be in the future. I'm going to get absolutely roasted for this. What about Dean Smith and John Terry, getting them back?
Well, I think if them pair had had a couple more games, they would have kept us up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to shoot me down then.
No, Dean Smith's proven at this level. He's got a proven track record in getting promoted with Aston Villa. He's just never been quite good enough to be a mid-table-ish manager. You know, he would be good for this level. He'd be good for what we need. And I think with how his style of football is, you know, he would get a lot of players fit because, you know, he works a lot on intensity. He works a lot on running and stuff like that. So, and I know this because I watch a lot of the coaches' voices because I'm a sado like that. But just going back to Kingy.
You need to get out more, mate.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, just going back to Kingy. There's 2 scenarios I would come up for him. If he doesn't do great, keep him as a first team coach and think, right, let's learn under a new coach. Let's keep learning under a more experienced coach, maybe. Or if he does well, let's promote him to an assistant first team manager, and and see how he does in that role.
Yeah.
So then he'll have a bit more of a say on how the team plays and implement that sort of thing. So I think either way, we need to keep him at the club because I think he's got the potential to be a good Premier League manager.
I wouldn't argue with any of that, sir. Clibbo, what are we looking for? What is Top going to sit? I mean, Top's flown back already, for God's sake. Thanks for popping over, Top. What was it? Were your horses missing you or what? I mean, if I know you got things to sort out over in Thailand, but where's the technical director? He should be fucking in place now, shouldn't he?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think I said it to you. I think that was all a smokescreen to take heat off of Rudkin. I mean, I don't want to sound like a conspiracist, but I do believe.
Carry on.
I do believe that if you wanted somebody, you would have got them by now. Teams notoriously don't take this long, and again, it could be a case that just Leicester dragged their heels in everything, but I just don't see it. Rudkin has basically been taken out of the firing line, and this was a great spin to make that happen.
It's true. Nick says, Brighton doing his badges, definitely someone we need to teach crosses. Why aren't we getting these ex-players involved in some way? I know Becky Vardy was asked in this question thing she did, what about would Vardy want to go into management? Her first reply was, that's an interesting thought. A second reply was, I don't think so. He's got enough on his plate with me and the 5 kids. But, we've lost Wes Morgan to Forest. Why aren't we making the advantage? If we've got, like they said there, I'd love to see O'Brien as a coach.
I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't. Okay. Purely because the way I hear him speak now about what's going on at the club is very more like, it's not great, but they'll get better, I'm sure. Whereas I watched him at De Montfort Hall. Him, Albrighton, Morgan, Huth, and I can't remember who the other person was. But the Wes Morgan and Danny Simpson said it how it is. It's not good enough. I can't believe they've not called up Wes to get him involved. And Albrighton was a bit more vague. He was a bit like, So I think Albrighton would be a bit of a yes man, if I'm honest with you. So I don't want people like that at the club who are going to, just bow down and actually challenge and say, this is not working. This is not good enough. You have to change things.
But just in the role as a coach only.
He would still
have to get involved in any decisions.
As a coach, I think if you're any good as a coach, then if you're any good at any role in your in life that you're getting paid for, you have to be able to stand up and say, this is not working.
Yeah. Look, just to sort of start winding it up now. I think we're agreed, aren't we, that Marti really, he didn't get sacked just on the Oxford game. We know that. He never just sacked on one game. But really, he dug his own grave, didn't he, Clibbo?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all... you've only got to take the Sheffield Wednesday game for starters. I mean, people were predicting, me included, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. I heard somebody say 8-0 at one point. I mean, basically, they had a load of kids because they had hardly players. And we scrambled a win. And I was like, what the hell have I just watched?
Yeah.
And I think that got people on the back foot from that point. Such a contrast between pre-season.
Yeah. Well, let's bookend Marti's reign, Reese. First match, Sheffield Wednesday, who we should have absolutely rolled over, shouldn't we? Let's be honest with you. They had no fans in for the first 10 minutes. They were, like Clibbo just said, they were playing, any man and his dog that could get in. They were in absolute turmoil. His last game in charge, we're playing an Oxford side that's second from bottom. If Sheffield Wednesday hadn't had the points deductions, they might have even been bottom. And I would say the thing that there was consistent between those two games was the fact that the opposition wanted it more than we did.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you've got that side of things, but also I don't think he's ever been good enough as a coach to coach a big club in terms of the Championship. We are a big club. We're probably the biggest club in the Championship, and we always expect to have the ball. Whereas if you look at his reign at QPR, and again, a classic example of this, me and Uncle Clibbo watched him against QPR. He sat back, 10 men behind the ball, and he got 2 goals from it. You know, he's got a small mentality, small club sort of mentality. And I think that's where he got it wrong. He didn't have the balls, or he hasn't got the nous to coach a big team like we have, with big characters and manage those big egos. And that's where I think he got it wrong as well.
I mean, I'm looking here at his history before QPR, and you're talking all Scandinavian teams, I think they are, and foreign managers don't always do well. Surely, Clibbo, there would be a Martin O'Neill out there that we can go and say, we want to give you a chance. There's got to be some good people. Keep going on. I think Scott, if he's in, keeps going on about the guy from Stockport, is it, or Scunthorpe, that's doing really well. Their buyout clause won't be that much because of the league that they're in. But if we were to do that, how would the fans react? Have we become, and I've said this many times, winning the Premier League, as much as it was good, it's almost like an albatross round our neck, because we actually think we're probably better than we actually are. You know, we've no right to be in the Premier League. We've no right to be challenging for Europe. Well, let's be honest with you, we're back where we started when King Power first came in. But should we be looking at those divisions rather than a name, if you like?
I think the word reset means to reset everything, doesn't it? And that means maybe resetting budgets, targets, objectives, but also resetting the way you think about managers. Now, if you think about where we were to where we are now, or where we were a few years ago, rather, all of the steps that we took to get there, you know, we didn't have, you know, the superstar managers didn't work, did they? Sven, it didn't work, you know. And we had grounded hard work from the players, given, you know, the ethos was driven into them by hard-working managers. So for sure, there are managers out there. But what you're going to do is, I mean, I don't know this manager you're talking about. Is he a young manager? Is he an older manager?
I don't know him, to be honest with you. It's just somebody that Scott keeps mentioning, and one or two other people have said, oh, yeah, he's doing really well. His contract's expiring at the end of the season, which makes me wonder why he hasn't been given another one. I can't remember the team, Stockport or Scunthorpe, somebody like that, but I can't think who it is. But apparently the coach is very well thought of. But will the fans look at that and go, we should be going for somebody better than that?
Maybe so, but I mean, we're all football managers, aren't we? Really? So, and we can all say, but I mean, if you've got a decent team, you know, that are going out scouting, you know, head hunting, and all the rest of it. If that team is decent, then the fans have to trust in that process. The problem is that over a number of years now, that team of people, i.e., scouting's not been the best, has it? Coaching's not been the greatest, and the head hunting of managers has been pretty piss poor as well. So the fans have got pretty much every right to question whoever comes in.
Yeah, Dave Challoner, that's the guy. Thank you, Daedalus. I'm not. Is he at Stockport?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think he might be. I'm just trying to Google now.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I would get behind a young progressive manager, but again, it depends what philosophy the manager, the boss wants.
Would the fans go, what the fuck are we doing? Who is he? Because we have almost, a lot of our fans have become really, really entitled.
I think, I'm not.
Go
on, Reece.
No, I was just going to say, you got to think, like, from when King Power took over to where we are now, we've grown massively as a club. So yes, we are entitled, because in my opinion, we shouldn't be in the position that we're in. We're an established Premier League club that won the biggest prize in world football, that have won multiple trophies, And, I believe we shouldn't be in the position we're in because of poor mismanagement. So that's where I think this thinking about, where we are as a club, there's still fans that think, oh yeah, we're a small club, we're little old Leicester, but there's fans like me and Uncle Clibbo that think, no, we're a bigger club. We should be aiming higher than this. It's not like when King Power first took over. So it's a completely different scenario. But go on, Uncle Clibbo, what were you going to say?
I think sometimes it's not necessarily down to entitlement, because I think that word is bandied around and I don't think it's used correctly. One of the things I will say is because of the mismanagement of this club, I mean, it's almost like it's not necessarily generational, but there is a real almost 50-50 divide in any decisions that are made at the club, where to have cohesion, you would look to more like 3/4 of the fans agree with this. There's always that quarter that are going to moan. You could give them the nicest fish and chips in the world and they're going to say the batter's shit, So, but at the moment, it's a 50-50 split, and that sort of comes across on a lot of these channels. And I do read these comments quite a lot. And, you get agreements, disagreements. So I not necessarily think it's always down to entitlement. And anybody who's got any ambition will think, no, we should be doing better.
Okay, let me go through this Dave Challoner then. He started his managerial career at Colwyn Bay. They're currently members of the Welsh Premier League. He played 66 games. He won 34. He only lost 20. Had a win percentage of 51.52%. And as manager there, he won the Northern Premier League Premier Division playoffs. That was May 2010 to November 2011. They then went on to AFC Fylde. They are currently in the National League North. And there he played he managed 415 games, and he had a win percentage of 54.46%, 228. He then went on to Hartlepool, who are currently in the 5th tier, which is the conference. Sorry, at Fylde, I should say. Sorry. He won them the National League North, Northern Premier League Premier Division playoffs, Northern Premier League Division 1 North, and the FA Trophy. He then went to Hartlepool, where he won the National League playoffs in 2021 and had a win percentage. Oh, this is awful. 45.56%. And he's currently at Stockport County, where he is at 53.91% win rate. And when he was at Hartlepool, he won the National League playoffs. While he was at while he's at Stockport County, he won League Two and also the National League. Now, to me, that is a guy. If his contract is up at the end of the season, Reese, he's got to be in contention because he's ready for that next move. And sometimes you've got to be brave. Martin O'Neill was a brave appointment, and with his experience, and he wouldn't have lasted now. If he'd taken him in, we'd have probably sacked him after 12 games.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I would get behind the bloke if he got the job, but I think to go from Stockport County, a small relative club, no disrespect, to a big championship club in Leicester City is quite a big step. I think he needs to. This is just my opinion. I think he needs to go to a much more lower championship level club, like I don't know, let's say a Wrexham, somewhere like that. Somewhere like a Wrexham, or a Birmingham, somewhere like take that next step and then push to maybe a Leicester or a Southampton. It's a big step. It's a big step. But again, I think so. Leicester, we're a massive club, Chris. We are a massive club in this league. Look, I get what you're saying. I completely get what you're saying, and I agree with you to a certain extent. But for a club with the size, the stature of Leicester in this league, with our entitled fans, that's a lot of pressure on him coming from Stockport County. Could he do it? Of course he could. Anyone could do it. There's lots of managers out there that have done that. But it's a massive, massive, massive risk.
Let's look at the clubs he's managed. He's done exceptionally well at all of them on no money. That's a real plus point. But
you're saying that it's a big jump. Sorry, Clibbo. You're saying it's a big jump between Leicester City and Stockport County. There are 14 places.
That's not my point.
I'm not on about that.
He's managing. He's managing hod carriers.
Aren't we at the moment?
No, not. No. I don't believe these players.
Go out and buy. We are about less than a week. Well, we're a week today. The transfer window closes. We haven't brought any loan players in. We haven't brought any free signings in. So
that goes back to the
team
That goes back to managing players that we discussed at the beginning of this podcast. Is that there are quality players that need managing by a character that can manage and get respect. That's how you get this team pushing back up the table.
Okay. The players that you say,
just quick, and also you're going from coaching players on $5,000 a week to certain players on 50, 60 grand a week who have won things in the game. You know, do you think players like Harry Winks are going to listen to this guy? You know, I know we all hate Harry Winks. We all hate Harry Winks, but these players will look down upon this manager because that's how football is nowadays. You're going from Stockport to Leicester City, and that is massive, massive difference in terms of club stature, and it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, let me say, Harry Winks going at the end of the season. Ricardo going at the end of the season.
Yes,
please.
Samare going at the end of the season. So all these players on high wages are going to be gone. Now, we're not going to go and sign somebody that's going to be on 70, 90 grand. So the players that will be left are a lot of the youngsters. Will they respect him? I think they would, and I think they should. And if Andy King would be saying to them, this guy's come in, look what he's achieved. Look at all those things that I said he'd won. Now, it might not impress Harry Winks, but Harry Winks doesn't impress us. But he's fucking off at the end of the season. So he won't even... All those players on high wages won't be here. Oh, Skip, possibly. I don't know what I mean. But generally, they're not going to be here. Cover Reed will still be here because he's got another year on his contract at the end of this season. Ayew will be gone. All these players... Yeah, look, God. All these players...
There will be still a lot.
Won't be here.
There will be still a lot of players at that club with big egos. Mavadidi's got a massive ego. Abdul Fattah's got a massive ego. Yannick Vestergaard. Well, maybe we should, but this is all hindsight, though. I'm saying if he comes in, he'll. You're looking at Fattah with big ego, Mavadidi big ego, Wout Fass massive ego, size of his fucking arse. Yannick Vestergaard, there's players still there with massive egos that have achieved more in the game than the certain manager coming in. So they will look at that and think, well, I've achieved more than this guy and I'm only 20-something years old. Why the fuck am I going to respect him? But I completely get what you're saying. In terms of a footballing aspect, I completely get it. But in terms of ego, club stature, I think it's the wrong move at this stage of his career.
They've achieved more. What have all those players won?
Well, Abdul Fattah has won championship. Mavadidi's won the championship. Mavadidi's played for Juventus and Arsenal, may I add. Abdul Fattah was, an international. Are any Stockport players internationals? Probably not. Wout Fass, he's played in the Premier League. Yannick Vestergaard's played in the Premier League. Oliver Skipp's played for Tottenham. What'd you say, Uncle Clibbo?
And the Bundesliga, I think.
And the Bundesliga. So it's just a massive step in club stature. And with entitled fans... Go on.
Sorry, Reece. Do we then not need a technical director, a director of football, or an owner that goes in beforehand and says, you're going to fucking respect this guy. This is who we're bringing in. This is your manager, therefore your boss. And if he says jump, you say how high. And it's like I said when that she was called Jo, and she was a lovely, lovely boss. But she took me aside and said, "How are you going to cope with this?" And I said, "You are my boss. You sit at the end table, and you say you've got to do something. I've got to say, when do you need it doing by?" And he should get the backing because I remember Martin O'Neill when he came in. And everybody was saying, he said, everywhere I look around this club, and everybody's saying how brilliant the years were under Jimmy Bloomfield. How the players pass, how they do this, how they do that. Or wasn't it brilliant football under Bloomfield? And he said, I think it was to Alan Birchnell, actually. And he said, tell me, what did he win? And he'd won fuck all. And Martin came and said, exactly. And Martin left us with 2 trophies. Or 3 if you include the playoffs. So I think it is a thing at the club, and the club have got to back him. If they gave him the job, I would say, great. Like you say, we'd all get behind him because we're fans and we don't want these people to fail. Let's be honest with you. If they fail, the club's failing. But like I say, at the moment, we are not a big club. We are back where we were 10 years ago. The fact that we've won trophies does not make us a big club. No, I disagree. I will. We will agree to disagree. But
of course we can.
That's a cop out, Chris.
No. Why? When have we ever been a big club? Are we bigger than Leeds?
When you win the Premier League, you automatically become a big club. You gain more fans. You gain more money. You gain more revenue. You gain everything times 50%. That makes you a big club. We're one of how many teams have won the Premier League? Is it 6 or 7, something like that? So we're in a small category of teams that have lifted the biggest prize in world football. In those 10 years, we've won an FA Cup. We got to the quarterfinals
in world football.
Yes,
we've got a World Cup that goes ahead.
In terms of money, in terms of revenue, and in terms of precision, yes. It is the biggest prize in world football.
Are Tottenham a big club?
Yes, massive club, huge.
But they don't win anything. So are they really a big club? They're huge because they've got money. It's basically what you're saying. It doesn't
matter, Chris. It's not just about winning trophies. It's about infrastructure. It's about the money that comes.
Our infrastructure is fucking brilliant at the moment, Reece. Isn't it? Really? If only other teams could look at us and go, we want the infrastructure.
Tottenham are in the top 5. Tottenham are in the top 5 most biggest money makers in world football. That makes you a big club.
Doesn't make you a big club.
I'm not saying that does just on its own, but you do realise how many trophies they've won.
Trophies on its own makes you a big club.
Okay, would you say Sheffield Wednesday are a big club? Is Sheffield Wednesday a big club?
Historically.
Yeah, but are they a big club? Yes or no? Are they a big club? Yes or no?
I'm going to have to go no with that one at the moment.
Well, again, and that's fine. That's how you see football. But we're talking about one of footballers' family.
Let me ask you this: are Leeds a big club?
Yes, they are. They're probably bigger than us.
Look, we've been going here a while. We'll agree to disagree because I'm not going to convince you two. I'm not going to convince you two, and that is fine. We will carry this on. I tell you what, this is going to be the topic for Friday. Right?
Yes, brilliant.
Are Leicester a big club? I'm not saying we're a small club, but at the moment, I don't think we are. A big club sat in 14th in the... And historically, we're not up there. We've won 1 league title. We've won 1 FA Cup. Whoopee! Wigan won the FA Cup. Are they a big club?
Yeah, but Wigan have never won
at the moment. We're up to our neck in debt.
This is. I love you, Chris, but you're changing the narrative here a little bit. The Premier League. Right. Just listen. The Premier League. No, just listen. Please, just listen. The Premier League is the biggest money earning institute in the world, and winning it will gain you more fans. Look how many fans all over the world know us now. Thailand, America, all these, Italy through Jamie Vardy, they all know who we are. Look, Claudio Ranieri, because he's Italian, and all these people know who we are now. We're from a small minority that have won the Premier League. The big, and whether you like it or not, this is factual. It's the biggest prize in world football in terms of revenue and money. And over 38 but yes, I would. Yes, prestige. Yeah. Yes, Blackburn. Yeah, I would say Blackburn are a big club. Yeah, they're one of the few teams to win the Premier League in a money-orientated league dominated by billions and billions and billions of pounds, and we won it. We have won it. We opened the fucking door for everyone to try and win it. And it's not just about winning, and it's not just about winning the Premier League while we're a big club. We've competed in European competitions. We got to a European semi-final. Football has changed. Quarterfinals of the Champions League. We were the highest English team that year in the Champions League. Tottenham failed. Man City failed. Arsenal failed. These are historic clubs, and we finished higher than them in that competition. But it's a lot more than just winning one trophy while you're a bigger club. I wouldn't say we're a massive historic club, but we're a bigger club than what our fans and people like you, Chris, give us credit for.
Well, I'll agree with you there. Historic is the word. Are we a bigger club than Nottingham Forest?
No.
But we've won the Premier League. They haven't.
But they've got 2 European Cups to their name.
Exactly.
And they've won more. Hang on a minute. They've won more than what we have, and they have way more fans than what we have. Let's be honest. Let's not be biased about this. Nottingham Forest are a bigger club than us because they've got more fans worldwide. They've got more revenue, and that's factual now because they're in the Premier League and we're not. And they've got 2 massive European Cups, so Nottingham Forest are a bigger club than Leicester, but they've been a bigger club for a longer period of time than Leicester. We've only recently became a bigger club.
It depends on your timeline. If you're looking at a timeline of 10 years, maybe we are a bigger club than I'm giving us credit for. But I'm a lot older than you are, and I'm going back. I can go back to the sort of the 60s. 69 was probably the FA Cup finals that we lost was the first game I knew. But if you go over that, are Preston a big team? They've won the top flight more than we have, I think. With Stanley Matthews when he was at Blackpool winning the FA Cup for them, are they a big team?
Key question. No, the answer is no, they're not. But you are changing the narrative here a little bit, Chris, because you said, are Leicester City a big club? The answer is obviously yes, they are a big club because in recent history they've achieved all of that. Were Preston a big club? Yes.
I wasn't changing the narrative. I was purely using that to back my argument up. So I would say that wasn't changing the narrative. That was just basically backing up. So backing up my argument is changing the narrative.
No.
I had a conversation with last time I was in Lanzarote, just before Christmas, with a Nottingham Forest fan. His team had just won in Europe that night. And I went over and going, I do, mate. And he's got all the Forest outfit. I went, I'm a Leicester City fan. And he went, oh, God, what are you going to say? I said, no, I just want to say, well done for tonight. You've won the game. And went, oh, fair enough. And we sat down. We actually had about half an hour's chat. And the question that came up was, whose was the biggest achievement? Nottingham Forest coming up and winning the winning the first division at the first attempt, or us winning the Premier League. And I said, us winning the Premier League because it's a completely different playing field. And then he started to say, yeah, but we went on and won 2 European Cups. I went, that wasn't the question. You're asking whose was the bigger achievement to win the top title or the division, the first or, the division. And I Well, I will say to Reese, yeah, if you're looking at the last 10 years, you could argue that we are a big club. I'm saying if you're looking over the length of time of football, are we a big club? Then no. So it's all about the time. And I'm older than you, Reese, so I would expect to look further back than you do. And I
Yeah, but
would
you can go that far back. My cousin's granddad played for Manchester United when they were in the second division.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can keep going. You can go.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But football didn't start with the Premier League. You know, football existed before the Premier League came along and ruined it.
From when you've started watching football, Chris, a lot has changed since then. There's a lot more money. I would go as far as to say us winning the Premier League is more impressive than Nottingham Forest winning 2 European Cups on the spin, because it was a much more level playing field. There weren't as much money. We won the league with a squad worth of 30 million. Man City spent hundreds of millions. Chelsea spent hundreds of millions. It's a completely different field, game field sort of thing.
And I would say to you what he said to me, that when they won the 2 European titles, they were playing the champions of every country. We got the easiest group in the Champions League. Let's be honest. None of them were champions of the well, I don't know if they were champions of the division or not, but it wasn't a hard group. When we met teams that weren't champions. So I would disagree with you on that point. But we will continue this. We will continue this because, yes, like you say, Clibbo, how far back do you want to go? But football, believe it or not, everybody, and I know there's a lot of youngsters out there that believe football has only existed since 1992. It hasn't. It's been going on a lot longer than that. And look, this is an argument I don't think would ever be rectified, because everybody's idea of a big club has different parameters, and that's. I'm going
to end it on this. You do realise in our group, Porto were the Portuguese champions.
Okay,
Club Brugge were the Belgian champions, and FC Copenhagen were the Danish champions. So we did play champions.
Fair enough, and Porto stuck 4-5 past us. I did say I wasn't sure. And you fact checked me, and I accept that. But at the end of the day,
don't test him on facts if you haven't tested yours, mate. I'll tell you that now, because he'll roast you.
Can I just say, this has been a fantastic debate. This has been a fantastic show, and I've loved every minute of this show. This has been brilliant.
And I have as well. Look, it's all about not having the same opinions, and you and Clibbo, you've said to me that you disagree all the time on different things, and I think very often it is the age difference, and I don't think now that and like I say, you're saying on the last 10 years we're a big club, and I go along with that. I'm just using sort of different parameters. Yeah. But does the fact that we are a big club mean we are going to attract a big manager at the moment?
Probably not. No, but that's the predicament we're in. But in terms of overall resources, annual income, more fans around the world, we're still that bigger club than what we were when King Power first took over, in my opinion.
Yeah. What does this one say here? Thanks for the education. I'm 57 and I know it's an old game. I'm a newcomer and can appreciate the game now. Look, I say this so many times. I love watching the big match revisited on ITV4. And you say to me, how did Keith Weller score that goal against Luton Town in the FA Cup on that pitch? They were proper players. They could control a pitch that was, well, I'm not saying it was a mud bath, but I'm waiting for the two bikini-clad women to come in and have a fight in the centre circle. I've
got a DVD. It's the 120.
Oh, yeah. We don't want to go there. We certainly don't want to go there, Reece.
No, that's not. We've got Leicester's 120 greatest goals ever, and that's number one on the list.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And look at what he was playing on.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
It's different. Football is different, and it's an argument that I don't think you would ever, but when ever getting everybody to agree on, depending on how old they are. But when you look
Yeah.
at successful clubs, most people do tend to go off trophies. Internet would tend to go off trophies, but it is what it is, guys. I don't think
Well,
we'll
we
talk
still
about
won
it
the
on
argument then, don't we? We still won the argument because we've won the Premier League, we've won the Premier League, we've won the FA Cup, we've won the League
Still
Cup.
won't get you in the top 10. It will not get you in the top 10.
Charity Shield. We've won the Championship.
Oh,
We've
the
won
Charity
League
Shield's
One.
not. Come on, that's not a trophy. Come on.
Oh, come on. I tell you why people don't class that as I tell you why people don't class that as a trophy, because these big fucking clubs fucking look their noses down upon it and say, oh, it's in your friendly. No, it's a fucking trophy where the FA Cup winners and the Premier League winners get to fucking face each other over a fucking trophy. So that's football.
Trophy, a shield.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean.
Not that
I call it the Champions Cup because it, like you say, it is the battle between two champions. If we had lost it, like when we lost it to Man United, it
pissed me off.
No, it pissed me off. I wanted to win it.
We all want to win it, but I'm still going, oh, it's only a friendly anyway. It doesn't mean anything.
Perhaps we're bigger fans.
I'm saying nothing.
What a debate. Great debate, guys. Great debate.
Great debate, as you say. And football is about opinions. And what you should be able to do with football is talk, discuss, disagree, and then laugh at the end of it and go off and have a pint together. Can't have a pint together, but I'll have a drink of me cider. There's none left, so I'll have to open another one. So, Dwinto, cheers, everybody. Thanks very much. Yeah. We'll be back. Is it 8 o'clock on Friday now? And I've got to try and think of a topic that I can win the argument on. But we have gone. That is the main thing. He's gone, not we've gone. He's gone. Marty has disappeared. Was it his fault? I think we can say not fully, but he has to take the blind share of the blame. There was many opportunities for him to correct things, and he didn't. And that's, I think, was his downfall. As we said earlier, I just think he was digging his own grave, and week by week, that hole got bigger. We're back tomorrow at 7 when we're going to be looking at the future and what and who next for Leicester City. And then we'll be back, like I say, on Friday at 8 o'clock with these two muffins, and hopefully we'll come up with a good topic. Clibbo, Reese, thank you very, very much. Absolutely enjoyed it tonight. Loved it to bits.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Please subscribe if you're new. Thanks to everybody in the chat. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, we appreciate that as well. Take care, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.